Versatile Mage. Chapter 331. He's a soldier. So, you're trying to take my money. Zhang Xiaohou glared at the two. The plump owner and Da Jin laughed. What are you going to do about that? I never thought anyone would hand over the diamond card that easily. Kid, did you come from some deep forest on a mountain? Is this your first time in a big city? The owner had never seen someone so dumb. Likewise, Da Jin had been scamming people for many years, and yet he had never seen anyone who would believe a stranger so easily. 9 million, consider it the fee he had paid for a life lesson. If not, he might even lose his life next time. Then you shall not blame me for showing no mercy. Since Zhang Xiaohou had confirmed that they were trying to scam him, he would not need to be kind to them. The military had made it clear that no soldier was allowed to fight ordinary civilians or magicians unless they were involved in criminal acts like scamming or violence. Ha! Trying to pick a fight now. Do you really think we're just a simple magic shop? Da Niu, Niu, San Niu, Si Niu, come out here. Some guy is trying to cause trouble here. Beat him up and throw him out. The owner yelled at the back of the store. 4 men in singlets soon appeared. Among them, the one called Da Niu had a strong magical aura. It was obvious that he was not just a basic magician. Someone asking for trouble again. Yo, it's a youngster this time. You should leave if you're smart enough. You don't want to pick a fight with me. It would be painful. Da Niu laughed. That's right, our big brother here is a famous hunter. He managed to kill a warrior-level demon beast with a team before. A kid who will wet his pants from a servant-class demon beast like you should just go home and drink your milk. The group of 5 ridiculed Zhang Xiaohou straight away. Zhang Xiaohou did look slightly naive, like a student who had yet to go out in society. A person like him was the easiest to intimidate. Should I be impressed? Zhang Xiaohou smirked as he glanced at the shop owner. The diamond card you're holding onto, 3 million inside it is from a piece of equipment which I just sold. As for the remaining 6 million, it's from killing 12 warrior-level demon beasts and 231 servant-class demon beasts. In the army, the demon beasts that we kill on our own belong to us. The 4 thieves were stunned for a second. They inspected Zhang Xiaohou once again, before bursting into loud laughter. Haha, this is so funny. I'm dying. Did this kid seriously say he has killed warrior-level demon beasts on his own? It took us 4 intermediate magicians and 12 basic magicians to kill a tyrant lizard, and you're shameless enough to say you've killed 12 of them. You're the biggest bluffer I've ever met. Da Niu could not hold back his urge to laugh. The kid was at most 20 years old. There were only a small number of 20-year-olds who were intermediate magicians in the whole nation, and each of them would only be found in the renowned families or the best schools. Why would any of them be running around like this dumb kid? Enough with the nonsense. Let's beat him up and throw him out. Niu, who was wearing a giant earring, said. Zhang Xiaohou didn't waste any more time. He took a few steps backward. He was not afraid of them but worried that the beam above him would crush him when the battle broke out. Kid, allow me to show you the true strength of an intermediate magic. I'll show you what a star pattern looks like. A magical aura burst out from Da Niu's body, as stars appeared under his feet and began to align themselves. You're too slow. Zhang Xiaohou grinned. His wind element star pattern had already completed when his opponent's star pattern had only completed by a third. He was so quick at casting the magic that even Niu, San Niu, and Si Niu was still in the middle of casting their basic spells when he finished accumulating his intermediate energy. Wind Disc. Zhang Xiaohou hesitated for a moment before deciding against casting the second-tier Wind Disc. Tornado. A wild gust appeared under Zhang Xiaohou's control, quickly turning into a powerful tornado. The area it covered grew, and it swept everything in the shop into it, shattering the glass cabinets as it did so. The strong updraft of the tornado lifted Da Niu, who was also an intermediate magician, into the air. Oh my, oh mama, The plump owner and Da Jin were terrified by the tornado. They quickly fled to the back of the store. However, there was no escape, as the tornado uprooted the walls and drew the other 3 magicians into the air, too. The street was usually quiet at this time, but the surrounding neighbors were shaken when they saw the tornado destroying the magic shop. The wind was strong enough to uproot a whole house, let alone humans. The entire magic shop crumbled. Zhang Xiaoho, who was standing inside the tornado, quickly withdrew the spell, as he was worried that it would injure the innocent nearby. That being said, the people inside the shop were totally dazzled by it. The shop no longer had its previous appearance. The ground was covered by shards of glass. All that was left was an empty shell. Zhang Xiaoho stepped on top of the debris and went up to the plump owner and Da Jin without glancing at the other magicians, who were looking at him as if he were a devil. My diamond card. Zhang Xiaoho did not want to kill someone. As a matter of fact, the civil liability of a magician when dealing with an unethical seller like the shop's owner would be fairly minimal. The plump owner was covered in pieces of glass, and his clothes were torn. He had cuts and bruises all over. He tremblingly handed the diamond card back to Zhang Xiaoho. Both the shop's owner and Da Jin were shaking in fear throughout the whole process. They initially thought Zhang Xiaoho, who looked like he was in his 20s, was a basic magician. Therefore, he would not be a problem for Da Niu and the others. To their regret, the 4 magicians were defeated with a single attack. The shop's owner totally believed that he was able to kill warrior-level demon beasts on his own now. The strength that this kid had displayed was even more terrifying than some of the aged hunters he knew personally. This is my badge. I don't want anyone to know that I'm in Bi City. Once the people of the Magic Association show up, just tell them that you made the mess yourself. Zhang Xiaoho received the diamond card and kicked the plump owner. Soldier, you're a soldier. The owner was dumbfounded. That's right, he did mention something about the army. This was the end. He was messing with a soldier. His life was screwed. The plump owner glared at Da Jin as if he was saying, "You dumb fuck, why did you bring a soldier here? All the magicians that are trained by the military are freaks." Da Jin felt like bursting into tears. He had never seen such a young soldier in Bi City. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 332. Bumping into a woman. Zizhao Valley was a small valley made up of low-lying ground and had an extraordinary glow under the sunlight when the sun was setting. Some say that it was due to a unique plant species here, which would blossom briefly every evening. The fascinating tale had attracted quite a number of adventurers to take photos of it. However, the truth was horrifying enough to make anyone's scalp go numb. The real reason was that when the fertile soil here reached a certain temperature at sunset, the giant lizards whose skin secreted a layer of oily slime would crawl out from their swamps and lie in the valley. The skin was usually rough, but the layer of oil would reflect the sunlight like crystals, making the valley shine brightly, as if it were filled with sparkling treasure. A long time ago, there were tales about hidden treasure waiting to be discovered in this mysterious valley, waiting for brave magicians to dig them up. However, after a significant number of magicians were killed, many people were disgusted by the truth when the mysterious, beautiful veil was torn apart. Humans gradually distanced themselves from Dongting Lake as the beast horde continued to expand its territory. Many had moved to safer cities, and so the ugly tale of Zizhao Valley was still being spread among the descendants. On a muddy road leading to Zizhao Valley, a group of fully equipped hunters slowly made their way towards the dangerous place. It was currently evening. Zizhao Valley was emanating a beautiful shine, as usual. Perhaps if the truth were not known, it would have turned out to be a great attraction, as the shine from the valley was astonishing. Believe me, there must be some treasure in Zizhao Valley. I'll bet my dick on it. A red-haired young man tapped his chest and said, "Yo, watch your mouth. There's still a woman in our group." A man wearing a bandana said. He purposely cast a side glance at the woman wearing a tight-fitting outfit, who had joined the group halfway through the journey. The woman was wearing a pair of army green pants. The loose cut could not conceal her big booty, while her long, firm legs, which were perfectly straight even though she was not wearing high heels, caught the men's attention. Perhaps because of the slightly warm temperature, the woman had taken off her jacket. She was only wearing a black chest binder. Her outstanding bust had caused the men who were experiencing a great burst of hormones to excuse themselves into the woods to relieve their urges. Otherwise, they were scared they would be committing a serious criminal offense here in the wild, not to mention the group consisted of famous magicians and hunters. The busty woman did not seem to be bothered by the comments. She had used a wooden branch to tie her hair, as if she had forgotten to bring a hair clip, exposing her face and neck, which were covered in fragrant sweat. Deep cleavage could be seen down her neck, a very attractive sight. Her simple and casual look somehow highlighted her wild personality, causing a great itch in the men's minds. By the way, this woman is pretty daring too, coming to the valley of Dongting Lake on her own. She was lucky to bump into us. If it were a group of dishonorable hunters, they would most likely rape her and kill her before dumping her body in the wild, and no one would care at all, the leader, Liang Dachui, said to his friends nearby. Leader, please don't bring that up. If not, I could turn into the dishonorable person you are describing. The lady is too hot. Huang Juosi could not help but peek at the woman again. Their boss coughed loudly. Can we talk about business? The treasure in Zizhao Valley will surely make us rich, the red-haired man said with a stern look. The 5 men, with Liang Dachui as their leader, were part of the Dachui hunter group. Everyone was an intermediate magician. The group was a relatively famous hunter group in Bi City. Their success rate at looting treasure, taking bounties, or performing mercenary work was impressive. They were told by their informer that there was some treasure in Zizhao Valley, estimated to be worth millions or more. As such, the group immediately decided to try their luck, despite the challenging journey so far. To their surprise, they had bumped into a female hunter on her own, who seemed to have lost her way. The group conveniently brought her along, seeing that her strength was rather outstanding, too. She was also heading to Zizhao Valley. She told them that she was not interested in the treasure and was only investigating the area for some strange reason. Everyone in the group was experienced, thus no one was worried that the woman was trying to trick them. The only problem was they had wasted too much toilet paper after bringing her along. At this rate, they would have to use stones and tree branches to clean themselves when needed. We're almost there. We should come up with a plan first. I don't think we should barge into the valley straight away. It will take us more than 7 days and nights just to wipe out the giant lizards on the way here, the red-haired magician who was in charge of planning their strategy said. Give me the map, the woman said. Li Man, are you an analyst too? The red-haired man asked with interest. I'm normally in charge of settling problems, Li Man said. An analyst was the mastermind of the team, in charge of planning their strategy. Once it was approved by the captain, the whole team would stick to it. A hunter group without a brilliant mastermind would usually end up dying in the wild, regardless of how strong they were. Having outstanding strength alone was useless without a certain level of intelligence and experience. The sky is turning dark. We'll be entering the valley tomorrow evening. Evening, Hong Niao, didn't you say that's the time when the giant lizards would come out from their caves? Aren't we presenting ourselves to them if we head in at that time? Huang Juosi asked. That explains why you're not the mastermind. The captain Liang Dachui had great faith in Hong Niao's capabilities. He immediately agreed to follow his plan. The following evening, the hunter group appeared at the east of the valley. They were taking a path that seemed rather dangerous, but in the end, not a single giant lizard was in sight. It totally puzzled Huang Juosi. How do you know there are no beasts here? Huang Juosi asked. Aren't they fans of sunbathing? If you look closely, you will realize that the west of the valley has a lower height than this area. Most of the giant lizards will be sunbathing there instead. Thus, this side will be clear, Hong Niao said confidently. He glanced at the woman called Li Man, trying to detect any hint of impression from her eyes. Sadly, Li Man had a stern look naturally, thus she did not show any reaction. She did not seem interested in the treasure in the valley, but she was intrigued by the corpses of the giant lizards they found along the way. She went up to the dead bodies and mumbled, "Punctured by lightning, instant death. I'm getting closer to my target." Chapter N. Versatile Mage. Chapter 333. The Deathbringer of Dongting Lake. "Strange, there are some scattered corpses here," said Hong Niao, who was relatively observant. "It's normal, since the giant lizards always fight one another for territories or partners. Come, we're one step closer to our treasure. Ha ha, we'll all be rich once we get our hands on the flowing mud." Huang Juosi, who was rather insensitive, burst into laughter. Everyone's expression turned weird when they heard his shout. They subconsciously glanced at the woman called Li Man. "Idiot, you've exposed the earth element soul seed that we are looking for. The flowing mud is a high-quality earth element soul seed. The estimated market price is around 30 million RMB. I swear I'll skin you alive if you screw this up." The captain, Liang Dachui, glared at Huang Juosi. Huang Juosi let out an awkward smile. He cast a glance at Li Man and realized that she was only glancing at them indifferently. It seemed like she was not too interested in a spirit-grade soul seed like the flowing mud. As they arrived at the valley, they immediately saw its astonishing brilliance. The golden sunlight of the setting sun had laid a golden rug across the giant lizards, which were wriggling as they moved. Not only was half of the basin filled with them, even the slope of the mountain was crowded with the giant lizards. From afar, it looked like the entire place was covered in gold. "Holy crap, how many giant lizards are there?" exclaimed Hong Niao when he witnessed the spectacular sight. Instead of admiring the view, he could feel his scalp going numb. If they somehow ended up being surrounded in the valley, they would be like sheep entering a pack of wolves, with no chance of surviving. "Captain, are you sure we're going in?" Huang Juosi felt like retreating when he saw these many giant lizards. The treasure was important, but everything would be in vain if he lost his life here. I also think that it's too risky," the others agreed. "We've already come this far. Don't worry, Hong Niao's plan will surely work," said Liang Dachui with a deep breath, although he looked quite nervous too. Luckily, the valley was fairly spacious, thus there were quite a few hiding spots for them. Otherwise, even a few extra lives would not be enough for them to barge into the Demon Beast's valley. Li Man split up with the hunter group when they arrived at the valley. She was quite interested too, but it would not make sense if a commander were to take advantage of them after they had invested great effort in collecting the information, coming up with a plan, and risking their lives to acquire the earth element soul seed. Li Man followed the trails of the corpses. The hunter group agreed to split up, knowing that she was looking for something else. They were more interested in the treasure, since what kind of woman would they not be able to find when they had the money? However, soon after the group entered the valley, a nimble figure followed along their trail. He glanced at the group of hunters and the female magician who had split up, and quickly inspected the corpses on the ground. In the end, he chose to go after the female magician. The person was none other than Zhang Xiaoho, who had left the army to infiltrate Dongting Lake on his own. As a matter of fact, he had followed Wang Daqui's group all the way from Bi City. The experienced hunters had never noticed his existence along the journey. Zhang Xiaoho was mainly in charge of tracking and spying in the army. He was considered a special forces soldier among the battle mages, although it was closely related to the two elements he had. "Brother Fan, I'm very close to finding you." Zhang Xiaoho felt even more confident when he saw the causes of death of the corpses nearby. Li Man continued her search, following the corpses. She believed that she was very close to finding the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake. The term had appeared in the Hunter Union when a large number of giant lizards were found dead close to Dongting Lake. When the hunters discovered the giant lizards all had similar wounds, they referred to their killer as the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake. Li Man was the representative from the military sent to investigate the matter. Dongting Lake had been a sensitive and dangerous area for quite some time, so she was not willing to overlook any tiny detail, just in case it turned out to be a new commander-level demon beast, or something even more dangerous. It would become a great threat to Bee City. Strange. My legs feel heavy. I don't think my stamina should be this bad, even though it's been a while since I was last out on the field. Li Man had no choice but to find a dry spot to rest after walking past a swampy area. She quickly took off her boots to check her legs. Damn it, why was I so careless? Li Man finally discovered the reason. Her feet were somehow poisoned by the swamp. Her jade-white feet were dyed purple. Li Man was recently reallocated to Dongting Lake, thus she was not very familiar with the environment. As such, she did not pay much attention to precautions against poisonous substances. This doesn't make sense, I'm already following the advice given by my comrades. Besides, with my cultivation, there's no way I would be poisoned so easily. Could this be an unknown poison? Where did it come from? Such a strong poison. Li Man anxiously sat down on the rock. She immediately applied all the antidotes she had brought with her, but she was surprised when none of them was effective against the poison, which continued to spread up her legs. The swamp was a mix between water and earth elements, thus she tried using the respective antidotes, but none of them worked. This is bad. Li Man was not afraid of demon beasts. She would not mind killing any of them that she stumbled into. However, poison was definitely troublesome to deal with. She was clueless about it, and she was not well prepared for this adventure. She had no idea what to do in her current situation. The hunters must have gone far away. Should I fire a signal to ask for help? The army would send someone over, but if they knew I failed to accomplish the mission just because I've been poisoned, everyone would laugh at me. Those old jerks never liked me intervening with their business at B headquarters to begin with. Li Man clenched her teeth and gave up on the thought. She tried other ways to cleanse the poison, but its strength totally surpassed her expectations. When the purple poison made its way to Li Man's knees, she finally regretted her idiotic decision. The poison was definitely nothing ordinary. As the sky fell darker, Li Man began to feel dizzy. It would be rather difficult for her to send a signal now. She would need to make some preparations before firing the signal. Otherwise, a normal signal would just expose her location to the demon beasts. Li Man leaned against the cold rock and panted heavily. The poison continued to spread in her body. Li Man could no longer move. She could hear distant cries of the giant lizards around her as her eyelids fell heavily. She had no idea if her spot was concealed enough. All she could do was to pray that the giant lizards would not notice her, otherwise. Just as Li Man was falling unconscious, she felt a strong electric current pass in front of her. It struck a giant lizard crawling toward her, and instantly killed it. Li Man's heart skipped a beat. How bad exactly was her luck? Not only was she immobilized because of some strong poison, the Deathbringer of Dongting Lake just had to show itself now, too. Most of the giant lizards had died after being struck by lightning. Li Man was confident that the figure coming closer to her was the one she had been searching for. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 334. The Wolf-like Youth. In a shabby cave, a man in ragged clothes sat like a caveman beside a vigorous bonfire. On the other side lay a woman with a shocking bust, whose chest was pulsing steadily. The woman's army green pants had been taken off, revealing her pink underwear. The rather small piece of cloth was unable to completely conceal her plump booty, which was completely exposed and looked even more alluring under the illumination of the fire. Cave, bonfire, a man, and a woman, such a setup could easily provoke anyone's wild imagination. Why would a woman even come to this place? The man murmured. The woman let out a soft moan. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the cave became drier, as the sound of someone swallowing a mouthful of saliva was heard. Crap, I forgot to put her pants back on. As soon as the thought crossed the man's mind, Li Man regained consciousness. She checked her surroundings with a blank face after her eyes sprang open, and discovered a man with long hair, like a caveman, staring at her. She immediately gathered her focus and began casting magic subconsciously. You are poisoned. The caveman smiled, exposing his teeth. His canine teeth were quite sharp, like two swords hanging in the air. You're a hunter? Li Man asked in a calm tone as she collected her thoughts. The reason she had stuttered for a moment was because the man looked too similar to a caveman. Even a hunter who was in extremely bad condition would still look better than him. She could not tell how long he had been staying in the wild. More or less, at least I won't be able to leave this place in a short period of time, said the man with a smile. Did you save my life? Asked Li Man. Yeah, the poison you caught is quite tricky. It took me a great effort to cleanse it when I caught it myself. However, your body is a lot stronger than I thought. I assumed that you would be unconscious for at least 7 or 8 days, said the man. Thanks, I'm not this careless usually, explained Li Man. Why would a woman like you come to such a dangerous place on your own? Asked the man. Aren't you on your own, too? Li Man returned the question. Her eyes were filled with the pride of an independent woman. You're right, so you're here for the treasure in the valley, added the man. His eyes peeked at her at times. Li Man shook her head. She recalled the lightning she saw prior to falling unconscious, before taking a closer look at the man in front of her. I'm here to investigate the thing that has been killing lots of demon beasts recently. Oh, I see. The man shifted his gaze as he switched the topic. As long as you're not here for the treasure. Too many have died because of it. Too many have died. Li Man was startled. Yeah, where do you think the poison came from? I've tried to warn a few groups, but they totally ignored my advice, the man said. This valley isn't normal. Li Man frowned. She recalled how she was poisoned and the uneasy feeling she had when the group first arrived at the valley. She was an advanced magician and she still came so close to losing her life, let alone the hunter groups. It will take some time until your poison is cleansed. You should hide in the cave for the time being, the man said. Why are you here? Li Man asked. To collect some stuff. The man smiled mysteriously. Have you had enough? Li Man's expression turned dark as she glared at the man. If it weren't for the fact that he had saved her life, she would never forgive him for taking her pants off. When the man returned, Li Man had already put on her pants. Her eyes were staring at the bonfire as she tried to figure out if the man had done something to her. She briefly checked her body. Her sensitive parts seemed perfectly fine. Her hymen was already broken. As a female battle mage, she had already given her virginity to the intense training in the army. It had nothing to do with a man. Can I ask you a favor? Li Man glanced at the man who was walking towards her. Li Man could not help but murmur in her heart. Exactly how long has he been living here? His hair almost reached the ground. His canine teeth were like a wolf's fangs. If it weren't for his seemingly ordinary human face, she would have thought that he was actually raised by a wolf, like in the film A Werewolf Boy. I don't have much time. The man rejected her straight away. I haven't told you what it is yet, said Li Man, protesting in an angry tone. Sis, I don't have any time to spare. My life is still at stake here, the man said. Whatever you are doing, I can help you, but I hope you can send a message to the hunter group that has just arrived here. Tell them not to go any deeper. Their lives are at risk, Li Man said. Li Man had a fairly good impression of the group. Even though they were quite lecherous, she had gotten used to people staring at her like that. I should have just set up a notice board there. The thing in the swamp at the center of the valley has already been injured. However, several groups of magicians have been so keen to give the thing a warm hug lately. I can't stop them, complained the man. Li Man fell into deep thought. It was likely that there had been news spreading around about the earth element soul seed. As a result, many magicians had come to search for it. To their surprise, the valley was nothing but a trap, taking countless lives. On top of that, It was impossible for the people to learn the truth, as most of the groups were completely wiped out after coming here. As a result, more people would just come here and end up dead. If even an advanced magician like her had failed to protect herself properly, any other group would surely be killed. How do you know the thing is injured? Li Man was slightly suspicious of the man. Most of the people would have died halfway into the valley, and yet this guy seemed to be perfectly fine living here. That's none of your concern, said the man. I still don't know your name. Oh, you can call me Fan Mo. You seem rather familiar with this place. I don't want to see more people dying, and they are all intermediate magicians. Let me help eliminate the thing in the valley, too, Li Man said, staring at the extraordinary young man with a stern look. The military had the obligation to get rid of any potential threat. Since Li Man was a commander, it was a responsibility she could not avoid. Mo Fan was stunned. He began to inspect the woman whose tone was slightly dignified. I do have a plan to kill it, but I don't think it's plausible with the two of us. We still need someone nimble enough to lure the poisonous beasts away, said Mo Fan. There was a guy tailing us when we were entering the valley. I'm sure that he was using the military's way of tracking enemies and concealing his presence. I'll find him, Li Man said. It won't be good enough, either. We need someone strong enough, who could kite a commander-level demon beast. Sigh, forget it, let's give it a try. You should find the guy first. Just making it clear, don't try to take the thing I need. Otherwise, you all will be dead soon, said Mo Fan. I'm not interested in it, Li Man said in a rather calm tone. Chapter End. Versatile Mage. Chapter 335. The Giant Beast in the Swamp. Sigh. Such a pity for her to leave like that. Captain, why didn't you say anything? I don't think it would hurt to let her stay. Huang Juoxi's mind was still filled with the woman's deep cleavage. He just could not understand how her skinny waist was able to support her incredible bust. Guess she trained herself a lot in the wild. Can your brain be useful for once? Aren't you aware that something isn't right here? Hong Niao snapped furiously. Something isn't right. There isn't a single giant lizard here. Isn't that good news? Said Huang Juoxi. Humph me, is your brain full of shit? The density of giant lizards in this place is estimated to be 1 every 10 square meters. However, we've not seen a single one along the way. What does that imply? It means there's something so terrifying here that all the servant-class giant lizards are too scared to get close. Hong Niao was absolutely furious. Why did he decide to join a bunch of brain-dead teammates? The group finally realized that something was indeed out of place here. They quickly scanned the darkness around them. The center of the valley was an uplifted area. If the swampy area, which took up 70% of the valley, was considered a lake, the uplifted area could be described as an island in the middle of the lake. They had stuck to their plan and come all the way here without stumbling into any danger. They were so close to reaching the area. The information they received had mentioned that an earth element soul seed, flowing mud, was right in the middle of the valley. There was indeed a strong earth element presence nearby. There must be a soul seed being nurtured in the middle of the swamp. They had put so much effort in just to acquire the soul seed. As such, any potential danger was treated as everything would be fine as long as they were careful enough. They couldn't help it, as the soul seed was too huge of an incentive to them. We're here, what should we do now? Asked Captain Liang Dachui. I'll investigate our surroundings first, said Hong Niao. The group of hunters had reached the land in the middle of the swamp. Their surroundings were still clear of giant lizards. Maybe they had gone somewhere else to take a nap. Hong Niao took out an aluminum container. He explained to the group while setting up the special tool, this is an element detector. By inserting it into the ground, we'll be able to distinguish the ratio of elements within a kilometer. This land is soaked in the swamp, thus it should be showing a balanced ratio of brown, which represents the earth element, and blue, which represents the water element. If the result leans towards dark brown, it implies that the area is strong in the earth element, therefore the soul seed should be within a kilometer of the device. Alright, we're magicians, not scientists. We don't need to know the details, said Huang Juoxi impatiently. Humph, Hong Niao wore a disdainful look. Who told you that magicians don't need to use their brains? Who said that magicians don't need to learn how to use different tools? This is strange. The result was out fairly quickly. Hong Niao blurted out, staring at the blank screen on the element detector. What is it? Asked Captain Liang Dachui. The rest of the team came closer too, eager to know if there was any treasure nearby. Why doesn't it show any color? Didn't you say it's supposed to be brown and blue? Huang Juoxi went up to the device and stared at the empty screen. Hong Niao was confused too. He quickly checked the device. Why isn't there any color? It is just ordinary land. The device should at least show brown, but why is it showing nothing? Didn't that mean the land is not showing any elemental reaction? This doesn't make sense scientifically. No, magically. Is this thing broken? Huang Juoxi laughed. He was never fond of devices like that. Impossible. Let me try again, said Hong Niao. If it was land, it should have earth elements reaction. Either the device is broken, or this ground. By the way, do any of you feel that we're rising? Someone blurted out among the group. Hong Niao, who was about to use the device again, suddenly had a pale face. The hands holding the device began to tremble violently. The device was not broken, but it still failed to detect any reaction. Everything in the world was basically made of some elements, but the only thing that would not show a reaction would be a living thing. A roar so powerful that it could shake the entire valley erupted suddenly. The sound was extremely close to the group. It felt like it was occurring right beside their ears. Their eardrums were almost destroyed, while they felt like their brains were about to explode. The first one to realize the truth was Hong Niao, whose mind was instantly overwhelmed with fear. He could not even move his body. Following the roar, the land in the middle of the swamp rose rapidly. It escaped the swamp and rose into the air. The giant body previously concealed under the swamp was exposed. It was huge enough to stir a great tide in the middle of the swamp. The land began to tilt sideways as the giant black beast stood up. As it stood up, the island turned out to be its backbone. The earth and mud rapidly came loose from its giant body. Its massive frame stood under the dim night sky. As the moonlight shone upon the enormous silhouette, the part which was exposed above the mud resulted in an epic scene. The tiny humans on the giant beast's back were utterly terrified. They never thought they were actually stepping on the back of a giant beast. They completely lost their minds. Some who were quicker in response immediately cast spells to aid their escape. However, the beast was long aware of these intruders' presence. With just a slight shudder, it shook the humans off its back with ease. Its movement was not too quick, but its size was enormous. A single step from it was able to cover the distance of a wind magician's wind path. Liang Dachui, Hong Niao, Huang Juoxi and the rest never thought they would be stepping into the jaws of death themselves. Even magic could not save them as they fell through the air. Everything had happened too quickly. The place fell silent fairly quickly. The group of elite magicians had only seen the giant beast's backbone before they were devoured by darkness without a hint of struggle. For a few seconds, there were screams and shouts, but now the giant black beast was slowly sinking into the swamp again. The entire place returned to calm, as if nothing had actually happened. Chapter end. Please guys like, comment, share, and subscribe.